Good afternoon, I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Welcome to Midday Prime. In the next 1 hour, we bring you all the stories and updates from India and across the world. As India battles COVID pandemic, Supreme Court has demanded a status report on COVID mitigation efforts by the states. Meanwhile, Prime Minister hails the commitment of fellow parliamentarians amidst the pandemic. Newly constituted Bihar Assembly begins work. Also updates from the world of business and sports. First, the big news at this hour. Supreme Court expresses concern over surge in COVID-19 cases in national capital, asks all states to file status reports on steps taken to mitigate the pandemic. Next hearing on Friday, active COVID-19 cases in India at 4,43,486. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Parliament proceedings continued even during the pandemic with precautionary measures. Prime Minister underlines increased productivity of Parliament sessions since 2014 while inaugurating multi-storeyed green flats for MPs via video conferencing. First session of newly constituted Bihar Legislative Assembly underway to continue till November 27th. Newly elected members administered oaths by Pro Tem Speaker Jitan Ram Manchi. Three-day bilateral maritime exercise between India and Singapore begins in Andaman Sea. Simbex 20 highlights the high degree of mutual trust, confidence, synergy and cooperation between the two countries. And Russia's Daniil Medvedev beats America's Dominic Thiem to beat ATP Tour finals. Medvedev claims biggest title of his career and becomes the second Russian to win the title after Nikolay Davydenko. Let's now begin with the big news. Let's first look at the update on the COVID-19 front from across the country. 41,024 recoveries were recorded yesterday, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 85,62,641. Now, with this, the recovery rate currently stands at 93.68%. India's three-pronged strategy of test, trace and treat is proving to be a success. The fatality rate has dropped to 1.46% with 1,33,738 deaths recorded so far. The number of active COVID-19 cases in India stands at 4,43,486, which is about 4.85% of the total COVID cases reported so far. Meanwhile, the gap between recovered cases and active COVID cases is steadily increasing. According to Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, 26 states, union territories have less than 20,000 active cases. Further, 7 states, union territories have active cases that is between 20,000 and 50,000, whereas Maharashtra and Kerala are reporting a more than 50,000 caseload. 77.68% of new recovered cases is contributed by 10 states and union territories. And according to Indian Council of Medical Research, over 13 crore 25 lakh samples have been tested for COVID-19 in the country so far. Of these, 8,49,596 samples were tested just yesterday. Now, in an important development, as India battles COVID-19, Supreme Court has stepped in. The Apex Court has asked all states to file status reports on the steps that they have taken to fight the pandemic. Apex Court has expressed concern over the surge in COVID-19 cases in Delhi in particular. It observed that the situation in Delhi has worsened in the last couple of weeks. Supreme Court has asked Delhi government to file the latest status report on patients' management. In its reply, Delhi government said that they've reserved beds for COVID-19 patients across all hospitals. Supreme Court will now hear the matter next on Friday. And now my colleague Vikas Sarthi is joining us on phone line with more updates on COVID-related developments and the Supreme Court order that has come in. Vikas, give us the context of the Supreme Court order asking for status reports from different states. We see the recovery rate is rising, but there are a few states, union territories, where the cases are also spiking. Delhi, for example, where the situation is becoming worrisome.
Exactly, Shubh. And you were giving the data on all India basis, that is quite if we compare it to other countries. But Supreme Court was very keen to know about the steps taken in those states where we have witnessed sudden surge in the COVID-19 cases, reported cases and deaths. So court wanted to know from Delhi what has taken so far to contain the number of active COVID. The number of casualties in Delhi is increasing couple of weeks. Apart from it, court also pulled up as well like the Maharashtra, which has been topping the chart, COVID active cases and death cases as well. So court wanted to know these specific states, what steps are they are taking, and why these states are witnessing sudden surge in the cases, in the active cases, not only in active cases but in the COVID-related deaths. So these states will have to file their response, a detailed response, but other states will also file their response, what steps they have taken so far. So Supreme Court may also compare the steps taken by different states, because all states have their own way to tackle with the COVID-19 cases. But today court pulled up Delhi government, and court also asked Gujarat government that why they allowed the kind of festivities. Court said that we saw that in Gujarat there was a mood of festivities and people were not following social distancing norms. So why governments are not taking appropriate steps at appropriate time? Court today also said that we are intervening because if states don't take any positive action, then in December this situation may become worsened and horrific. So these states will need to do their part completely, and they should apprise the court about the steps taken so far. So now court will hear this matter on Friday, and in particular Delhi will be questioned by the Supreme Court that why suddenly the state is witnessing a surge in the cases.
Right. Vikas, tell us a little more about the COVID situation in Delhi, because in the past few days, a week or so, we've seen a lot of back and forth by the Delhi government in implementing certain measures and then announcing them, then going back on that for COVID. Just tell us about the situation in the national capital, how it prevails as of now.
Shibindu, unfortunately, it looks like a knee and jerk, because now the Delhi government has increased the fine on people who are not covering their faces with masks. But what we saw in a couple of weeks ago, there was huge crowd in the markets everywhere in Delhi, especially during the Diwali, and a couple of days before Diwali, there was huge crowds in the major markets. In these places, people were not following social distancing norms, and in fact, administration didn't do enough to punish those people at that point in time. And because of that, we are seeing now a huge increase in number of cases in Delhi. Now, Delhi government has also increased the fine from 500 rupees to 2,000 rupees. But all these steps should have taken when there was crowd on the streets and people were not following norms. So it's a kind of knee-jerk reaction. Now we will have to wait and watch how Supreme Court deals with the response of Delhi government. But today Delhi government says that they have enough number of beds. So the court was of the view that if you have enough number of beds, then why death cases are increasing day by day? So on the next date of hearing, Delhi government will have to provide specific data that how many beds are available in a particular hospital, how many ICU beds are there, how many ventilators are available. So the court will go through all those details, which will be filed by Delhi government in next couple of days.
Right, and Vikas, do we understand that the status report, the data that Supreme Court has sought from the states, it will help in formulating a targeted action plan for COVID, because some of the states, union territories are doing quite well in tackling the pandemic. Some of the states like Delhi, for instance, union territories where the numbers are spiking. So resources could be moved from places which are particularly affected now. So that targeted planning could be enabled after these reports come in.
Exactly, Shubhendu. Supreme Court will certainly compare the action plan adopted by every state, and will see what are the best practices that can be applied to other states. Well, unfortunately, Maharashtra and Delhi, which have quite number of resources with them, they are lagging in curbing these COVID-19 cases, and particular is on almost top of the very beginning. Though it's a state with it's a very resourceful state, you can say. Small states are doing much better performance in COVID-19, not only in containment but in treatment as Supreme Court may compare these action plans of different, try to find out that what is the reason behind this kind of poor performance by specific states, especially like Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and NCT. In fact, when this matter came before the hearing, Delhi High Court made an observation that it seems that Delhi is not only the national capital, it has become the capital of COVID-19 as well. So if these states which have resources with them, which have funds with them, will perform badly, then what will you expect from other states, small states? So court will compare these action plans of different states and will come out with a broader action plan. Right,
Vikas, now the states have to file their status COVID management reports to the Supreme Court. How do we see the role of the centre now? Centre has played a crucial role in managing and coordinating pandemic mitigation initiatives and efforts. Going forward, what role do we see for the centre, especially in this context of the report sought by the Supreme Court?
Well, Centre has been providing assistance to states, whichever states asks help from the centre, it was provided to them. Like in Delhi, a special hospital was constructed by the centre for COVID-19 patients. Similarly, medical teams were constituted, and those teams were sent to places where large number of COVID-19 cases were being reported. So centre has a limited power and limited role, and in most of the cases, centre can provide help only when states ask for it. So specific medical teams are there providing kits. These are the issues like providing kits, providing ventilators. These are the issues which are being taken care of by the centre. But mostly the responsibility lies on the state, because health is primarily under their jurisdiction, and whatever help they will ask from the centre, it will provide to them.
Right there, Vikas. Thanks very much for joining us with all those important inputs. Thanks. And after remaining shut for some 8 months, schools from classes 9th to 12th in Maharashtra resumed today. Teachers and school staff are being screened for COVID tests by the Health Administration. Minister of State for School Education, Bachchu Kadu, said that even though decision to start the schools was taken by the state government 15 days ago, the local administration has the right to start or keep the schools shut. State government has put in place all necessary measures for smooth functioning of schools amid the pandemic. However, schools in Mumbai under BMC jurisdiction, Nasik, Pimpri Chinchwad and Pune and a few others will remain shut till further orders. Meanwhile, students said that amidst all the arrangements made by the authorities, they feel safe to be back in school. They also said they're facing difficulties in attending online classes due to improper internet connectivity.
पूरा ख्याल रखा जा रहा है स्कूल से. हमारे टीचर्स और प्राचार्य हमारा पूरा तरह से ध्यान दे रहे हैं और बहुत बड़ी अच्छी तैयारी है उन्होंने की है.
यहाँ मैं आके बहुत सेफ फील कर रही हूँ. गया, सैनिटाइजेशन और सब क्लासरूम का सैनिटाइजेशन किया गया है और हमारी बहुत ख्याल रखेंगे, ऐसा वो सम्मति पत्र लिखे। ऑनलाइन में कभी नेट का प्रॉब्लम होता था, कभी मोबाइल का इशू होता था, तो वो उतनी अच्छे से नहीं होती और अभी क्लासरूम में अच्छे से हुई।
And universities and degree colleges across Uttar Pradesh also reopened from today, but only with 50% attendance of students on roster basis. State government had on November 17th notified guidelines for reopening of universities and colleges which have been closed since March in view of COVID-19 pandemic. It is mandatory for students and staff members to wear masks, use hand sanitizers, maintain social distancing to prevent the spread of the virus. Thermal screening will also be done while entering the premises. Students, teachers, staff living in containment zones will not be allowed in the institutions, which are required to publicize COVID-19 helpline numbers clearly.
अच्छा लग रहा है कि आज पहले दिन हम कॉलेज आ रहे हैं और कोरोना में तो हम लोग घर पे ही ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा टाइम बिताए हैं, लेकिन इस बात की खुशी है कि आज हम कॉलेज पहले दिन आ रहे हैं।
रूल को फॉलो करते हुए हम लोग सारी चीज़ों को देखते हुए हम लोग आ रहे हैं।
हम लोग इतने दिनों के बाद यूनिवर्सिटी खुला है और हम लोग फेस मास्क, सैनिटाइजर और हर एक चीज़ का सर मतलब एक अनुशासन तरीके से जो भी है सर उसको हम लोग फॉलो करेंगे।
Let's now move on to our developing story. News from Bihar. The first session of the newly constituted assembly began from today. The session will continue till 27th of November. It's being organized in the central hall of the assembly, keeping in view social distancing norms due to corona pandemic. The newly elected members were administered oaths today by Pratham Speaker Jitanram Manjhi. New Speaker will be elected on 25th of November. Governor Fagu Chauhan will address the joint session of legislature on 26th of November. The next, there would be discussion on the governor's address as well as the vote of thanks. And my colleague Salman is joining us from Patna with more updates. Those are visuals of the assembly. Salman, give us updates on the beginning of the session of the new assembly in Bihar.
Yes, Shubhendu, the assembly session has begun today, and as you said, Pro-Tem Speaker Jitanram Manjhi is administering oath to the newly elected MLAs, and the process will continue for tomorrow also, and the next day, I mean on 25th, the election of Speaker would take place. So the things are going on, and the process is still on of oath-taking ceremony here in the Legislative Assembly. As you know, there are 243 members, so it will take time, and the time has been allotted till tomorrow evening. Yes, Shubhendu. And
right.
All the, yes.
Right, Salman, we can see in the visuals the Legislative Assembly members wearing masks, social distancing is being followed. The entire process taking place in the context of the pandemic. How is pandemic as an issue going to be challenged going forward for the new government in the state, and what are the priorities of the new government in that sense?
As far as you know, that Bihar was not such a sensitive state as far as corona is concerned, but the strict monitoring is being done, and all the MLAs before entering into the central hall were tested for corona. So no one is allowed without corona testing here, and that is why today's function, today's and tomorrow's session would be held in, as you know, in the central hall of the Assembly, State Legislative Assembly, and so that the social distance is between the members is maintained. So there is all precautions are being taken here in view of the corona pandemic, and every protocol is being followed here. Yes, Shubhendu.
Right, and Salman, finally, for the new Nitish government in the state, in terms of priority, job creation would be right there on top. In the election season, we saw the kind of emphasis was given by all parties on employment issue.
Yes, as you know, due to corona pandemic, a lot of around 18 lakh laborers came back to the state. They were working in metropolitan cities as well as smaller cities of the country in other states. So it is a big challenge for the new regime to provide at least a livelihood to them, and there will be of course the pressure from opposition also, as they are as you know, the opposition is very strong this time, and 110 seats Mahagathbandhan has won. So the pressure will be on the government to provide respectable livelihood to all those needy persons who came back from other states to Bihar. So the employment is one challenge, and another thing is, as the state Nitish Kumar repeatedly said, that he would implement the Sat Nishchay Yojana version 2 and would take development to a new height. So all these things, all these issues are there. As far as moving further from Har Ghar Nal Ka Jal, the chief minister has already announced that it would be his effort to take irrigation water to every.
Right, Salman, you rightly mentioned that there's a greater challenge for Nitish Kumar from the opposition this time around. It's stronger. But the challenge, if we talk about, is also closer home. Even within the alliance, Nitish Kumar's party does not enjoy the same sort of influence in terms of seats as it did earlier. So how is that expected to play out in this time?
Shubhendu, the thing is, the BJP has emerged as big brother, you can say, that with 74 seats. However, RJD has 75 seats, but it sits in opposition. But NDA alliance with 125 seats, in which major stake is of BJP with 74 seats. So certainly there would be better say of BJP in the present regime. Whatever, and even in the election or selection of speaker, the BJP would have its upper hand. So let's see what happens day after tomorrow when a speaker would be elected. Yes, Vijay.
Right there, Salman. Thanks very much for joining us with those updates from Bihar Assembly. First session of the Assembly is underway as we speak. Moving on to our National Prime segment now. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi today virtually inaugurated multi-storied flats for members of Parliament. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla was also present on the occasion. Now, these flats are located at Dr. B.D. Marg in New Delhi. 8 old bungalows, which were more than 80 years old, have been redeveloped to construct some 76 flats. The construction of these flats have been completed with savings of about 14% from the sanctioned cost and without time overrun, despite the impact of COVID-19. Several green building initiatives have been incorporated in the construction, including bricks made from fly ash, construction and demolition waste management.
मुझे खुशी है कि हमारे सांसदों का एक लंबा इंतजार अब खत्म हो रहा है। इन फ्लैट्स के निर्माण में पर्यावरण का ध्यान रखा है, एनर्जी कंजर्वेशन के उपाय हो, सोलर प्लांट हो, सीवेज ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट हो, ग्रीन बिल्डिंग के ये कंसेप्ट इन भवनों को और आधुनिक बनाते हैं।
And Prime Minister, while inaugurating the MP flat, said that many projects were pending since decades, but during the tenure of NDA-led government, the construction of several projects have not only started but also concluded before time.
दशकों से चली आ रही समस्याएं टालने से नहीं, उनका समाधान खोजने से समाप्त होती है। सिर्फ सांसदों के निवास ही नहीं, बल्कि यहां दिल्ली में ऐसे अनेकों प्रोजेक्ट्स थे जो कई कई वर्षों से अधूरे थे, लटके पड़े थे। कई इमारतों का निर्माण इस सरकार के दौरान ही शुरू हुआ और तय समय से पहले समाप्त भी हुआ।
And Prime Minister said Parliament proceedings continued even during the pandemic with new regulations, precautionary measures. PM said both houses work taking turns, even on weekends.
हम सबको याद है, अभी हमने मॉनसून सत्र में भी अध्यक्ष जी की इस कार्यशैली की झलक देखी है। कोरोना काल में अनेक प्रकार की सावधानियों के बीच नई व्यवस्थाओं के साथ संसद का सत्र चला। पक्ष और विपक्ष के सभी साथियों ने एक एक पल का सदुपयोग किया। दोनों सदनों द्वारा बारी बारी से काम करना हो या फिर शनिवार और रविवार को भी कार्यवाही करना, हर किसी ने सहयोग किया, सभी दलों ने सहयोग किया।
And Prime Minister also underlined the increased productivity of Parliament sessions since 2014. PM highlighted that more than 300 MPs came to Parliament after getting elected for the first time.
हमारी संसद की ये जो ऊर्जा बढ़ी है, इसके पीछे एक और बड़ा कारण है। इसकी भी शुरुआत एक तरह से 2014 से शुरू हुई है। उस समय देश की संसद में 300 से ज्यादा एमपीज फर्स्ट टाइम चुनकर पहुंचे थे और मैं भी पहली बार आने वालों में से एक था। इस 70वीं लोकसभा में भी 260 सांसद ऐसे हैं जो पहली बार चुनकर पहुंचे हैं। यानी कि इस बार 400 से ज्यादा सांसद ऐसे हैं जो या तो पहली बार चुन करके आए हैं या फिर दूसरी बार संसद पहुंचे हैं।
The Prime Minister also highlighted the achievements of the 16th and 17th parliamentary sessions. He termed both the sessions as historic, with both houses delivering 100% efficiency.
ये समय देश की प्रगति के लिए, देश के विकास के लिए बहुत ही ऐतिहासिक रहा है। 2019 के बाद से 70वीं लोकसभा का कार्यकाल शुरू हुआ है। इस दौरान भी देश ने जैसे निर्णय लिए हैं, जो कदम उठाए हैं, उनसे ये लोकसभा अभी ही इतिहास में दर्ज हो गई है।
And Prime Minister extended greetings to Lok Sabha Speaker on his birthday.
आज और भी एक सुभग संयोग है। आज हमारे कर्तृत्ववान मितभाषी हमारे अध्यक्ष श्रीमान ओम बिरला जी का जन्मदिवस भी है। ओम जी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। आप स्वस्थ रहें, दीर्घायु हो और देश की ऐसे ही सेवा करते रहें, ईश्वर से मेरी यही प्रार्थना है।
Meanwhile, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said that despite the challenge of COVID-19 pandemic, all government departments undertook the task of construction of the given flats on a mission mode.
कोविड-19 के समय मुझे पता है बहुत चुनौती थी इस निर्माण में, लेकिन सभी सरकारी विभागों ने इस चुनौती को मानकर एक मिशन के रूप में तय समय पर इसके निर्माण कार्य किया। आशा है कि जब 18वीं लोकसभा का सत्र शुरू होगा तो कोई भी मान्य सदस्यों को होटल में ठहरने की जरूरत नहीं है। जैसे ही वो चुनकर आएंगे उनको आवास मिलेगा।
Let's look at some other stories now. Indian Navy is hosting the 27th edition of India-Singapore bilateral maritime exercise SIMBEX 20, which began from today till 25th of November in the Andaman Sea. Now, SIMBEX series of exercises between Indian Navy and Republic of Singapore Navy has been conducted annually since 1994, aimed at enhancing mutual interoperability and imbibing best practices from one another. The scope and complexity of these exercises have increased steadily over the past 2 decades to include advanced naval drills covering a wide spectrum of maritime operations. The exercise is witnessing 2 friendly navies participating in advanced surface, anti-air warfare, anti-submarine warfare exercises, including weapon firing over 3 days of intensive joint operations at sea. In Delhi, air quality index continues to be in poor category. AQI air quality index in Lodhi Road area was recorded at 203. Meanwhile, mercury level also dipped in the national capital, with IMD forecast of 8 degrees Celsius minimum and 25 degrees Celsius maximum temperature for today. Met Department has predicted fog and mist in morning and partly cloudy sky in the day. In Jammu and Kashmir, a spell of fresh snowfall has gripped the entire Union Territory as temperatures have plummeted to -3 degrees Celsius last night in summer capital Srinagar, making it the coldest night of the season so far. Since Sunday night, the valley is witnessing rains while the upper reaches are observing snowfall, especially in North Kashmir. Light snowfall was reported from plains and in some places it was reported early in the morning. Met Department has predicted light to moderate rains and snowfall in both plains and higher reaches of the valley for the next 3 days. Meanwhile, J&K Disaster Management Department had warned of avalanches in the upper regions of Kashmir, especially in the northern parts, asking people to stay vigilant. And time now for all the updates from the world of business and finance. And my colleague Arun has all the updates.
Thanks, Shubhendu. And let's begin the first trading session of the week on the news from Samad, the foreign portfolio investor. We're talking about the FPIs. Now, FPIs have pumped in a net sum of 49,553 crore rupees in Indian markets this month so far, on back of high liquidity coupled with improving global indicators. FPIs have invested 44,378 crore in equities and 5,175 crore rupees in the debt market, now taking the total net investment to 49,553 crore rupees. We know this fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met with the foreign portfolio investors in the month of November, and after that we are witnessing such a surge as far as FPI investment is concerned. Also now let's take a look at the stock markets now. Well, Sensex and Nifty both are trading in green while the bull run continues. Well, Sensex is trading at around 44,140 levels and Nifty is also reflecting the same mood to trade at around 12,950 points. Well, Sensex is up by close to 300 points and Nifty is up by close to 80 points, while buying is seen in IT, pharma, well, the finances and the banking sector is witnessing some selling pressure. However, IT and the pharma sector are witnessing some buying momentum. Well, talking about gold and silver, well, gold and silver dipped today in Indian markets despite positive global cues. On MCX, the global futures slid to 50,211 per 10 gram, while silver futures edged 0.16% lower to trade at around 62,060 rupees per kg. And today, Umang app is completing 3 years of its launch. On the occasion, Union Minister of Electronics and Information Technology Ravi Shankar Prasad will launch the international version of Umang and will also address stakeholders via video conferencing. Umang is an all-in-one, single, unified, secure, multi-channel, multilingual and multi-service mobile application providing access to high-impact services of various organizations of centre and states. A National E-Governance Division and Ministry of Electronics and IT has developed the Umang application, and it was launched on 23rd of November 2017. Well, so that's it in the world of finance. But for other news, back to you, Shubhendu.
Thanks very much, Arun, for joining us with those inputs. Thanks, Arun. Let's now find out what's making news across the globe. And first up, updates on the COVID-19 front from across the world. There are more than 5 crore 89 lakh cases of the virus infection, while over 4 crore 7 lakh 54,000 people have recovered from it worldwide. The number of lives lost to the infection have crossed 13 lakh 93,000. United States, Brazil continue to remain the worst affected from COVID-19. US has 1 crore 25 lakh cases of the virus, with its death toll passing the 2 lakh 62,000 figure, while Brazil has over 60 lakh 71,000 cases with more than 1 lakh 69,000 fatalities. The University of Oxford, in collaboration with AstraZeneca, today announced interim trial data from its phase 3 trials that show its candidate vaccine is effective in preventing COVID-19. Phase 3 interim analysis, including 131 COVID-19 cases, indicated that the vaccine is about 70.4% effective when combining data from the two dosing regimes. In the two different dose regimes, vaccine efficacy was 90% in one and 62% in the other. Higher efficacy regimen used half a first dose and standard second dose. Early indication that vaccine could reduce virus transmission from an observed reduction in asymptomatic infections. Spain will begin a comprehensive coronavirus vaccination program in January. It is expected to cover a substantial part of the population within 6 months. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said that Spain and Germany were the first European Union countries to have a complete vaccination plan in place. He added the country will implement a single national strategy with priority groups, and more health professionals would be recruited for the process. Spain has reported over 15 lakh 89,000 cases with over 46,619 casualties. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel said that COVID-19 pandemic has made governments around the world more aware of the fact that economies have to be developed sustainably and not at the expense of environment. Merkel announced her support for an EU proposal for a global pandemic contract, but warned against forgetting about the developing countries as the globe's wealthier nations jostle to get access to COVID-19 vaccine. Merkel expressed her concern that negotiations for vaccine for poorer countries had not begun yet. Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven urged people to show solidarity and a sense of community to curb the spread of COVID-19. Prime Minister called on people to cancel, reschedule everything that is not necessary in order to stop the spread of the pandemic. Earlier, government had reduced number of public gatherings sharply due to rising number of active COVID cases with surge in admissions to intensive care units. Sweden has gained international attention for its active response to the pandemic, strict lockdown measures, widespread use of face masks. Country has reported over 208,000 cases with more than 6,000 casualties. UK Finance Minister Rishi Sunak said there would be no return to austerity in a spending plan even as coronavirus crisis pushes the country further above $2.7 trillion. Sunak said that he would announce an increase in funding for public services and more than £3 billion will be set aside in extra help for the health services. UK has earlier increased the government spending and tax cuts equating to about 10% of the economic output. Sunak also said that forecast will be published on Wednesday, which will show the reason for the increase in government spending and reduction in tax cuts. Australia is gradually coping with the COVID-19 easing of restrictions in several parts of the country. Majority of the parts of the country, including South Australia, which was earlier the epicenter of COVID-19 in the country, have now recorded no new community infections or casualties for weeks. So far, it has just 37 active cases. Victoria, which was reporting 90% of the caseload in Australia, has no new case reported as of now. It has also relaxed the wearing of masks and allowed public gatherings. Australia imposed strict lockdown, keeping people at home and businesses shut. Since the outbreak of the pandemic till now, the country's tally of cases stands more than 27,000, while it has reported over 2,300 deaths. Russia's coronavirus vaccine candidate Sputnik 5 has announced a vaccine price at much lower rates than other COVID vaccines such as Pfizer and Moderna candidates. The announced price of Pfizer is $19.50 and Moderna ranging from $25 to $37 per dose. Earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin said dozens of other countries have expressed their wish to buy the Russian COVID-19 vaccine, including Epivac Corona, that was registered in October. Meanwhile, earlier this month, developers of Sputnik 5, RDIF and Gamaleya Institute announced interim data from a large trial suggesting the shot appears to be 92% effective. Some more international news. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo held talks with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Neom, Saudi Arabia on Sunday. Both leaders reviewed friendship ties, areas of bilateral cooperation, ways to enhance them, and discussed developments in the Middle East region and other relevant efforts. They also discussed regional and international developments during the meeting. The meeting was also attended by Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan and US Ambassador to the Kingdom, John Abizad. Pompeo arrived in Saudi Arabia earlier on Sunday to discuss the strong bilateral security and economic partnership between the US and Saudi Arabia. UK Finance Minister Rishi Sunak has said that Britain wants to strike a free trade deal with the European Union, but short-term impact of not doing so will be overshadowed by the COVID-19 pandemic. In an interview, the UK FM, however, said that UK should not be going for a deal at any price. He said the deal should be reasonable, consistent, transparent. Asked what the effect of not having a free trade deal in place after the transition period ends on December 31st, Sunak said it's very difficult to be precise about the near-term effect. However, he said that in the short term, specifically and most immediately, it would be preferable to have a deal because it would ease things up in the short term. And Russian Defense Ministry released a video of peacekeepers providing villagers with water in several mountain settlements of Khergele, the district of Nagorno-Karabakh breakaway region, which were previously deprived of water supply due to the ongoing conflict. They also delivered food, essential items to a remote settlement. Engineering units of peacekeeping forces helped local restore traffic, electricity, water and heat supply to social facilities and residential buildings. Moscow brokered an end to 6 weeks of fighting between Azerbaijan and ethnic Armenian forces over the enclave, an accord that prompted deployment of some 2,000 Russian peacekeepers to the area. Now, it has been a year like no other for Colombia's San Andres Island, where tourism, a mainstay of the local economy, was battered first by coronavirus pandemic and has now been pummeled by the Category 5 hurricane Iota. Fallen trees and damaged buildings are visible across the once idyllic island in the Caribbean Sea, and residents are just beginning the arduous process of cleaning up from November 16 hurricane. Colombian island of Providencia has been hit hard by the powerful Category 5 hurricane Iota on Monday, which has caused severe damage to the majority of local population, homes, public infrastructure. Hurricane Iota was the worst to ever hit Colombia and the first Category 5 hurricane that the country has ever seen. And in Colombia, assailants opened fire in a coffee plantation, killing at least 8 people. The authorities said the incident is linked to drug trafficking. The massacre occurred when assailants opened fire on 14 people at La Gabriela coffee plantation in the municipality of Betania, Antioquia department in the center of Colombia. And we now bring you all the action from the world of sports. And Suchitra is tracking all the sporting action for us.
Thank you, Shubhendu. Let's start with some tennis action. Daniel Medvedev fought back to beat US Open champion Dominic Thiem and win the biggest title of his career at the ATP Finals in London. The Russian defeated Thiem 4-6, 7-6, 6-4 after battling for 2 hours and 43 minutes. Thiem led the second set tie break, but Medvedev reeled off 7 points in a row to force a decider and came through a tight final set to ensure victory. The 24-year-old will finish the year 4th in the world rankings. Medvedev, who also beat 5-time champion Novak Djokovic and world number 2 Rafael Nadal, is the first player to sweep the top 3 players at the season finale. Medvedev became the first Russian to win the title since Nikolai Davydenko, who won London's first edition in 2009. Veselý Kulov and Nikola Mektic beat Jürgen Melzer and Edward Roger Veselin 6-2, 3-6, 10-5 to claim the ATP Finals doubles trophy at the end of their first season together in London on Sunday. It was third final for this pair. They lost their first 2 finals. Kulov and Mektic end the season with a 24-13 team record. Liverpool set a new club record of 64 straight unbeaten home league games with an impressive 3-0 win over Leicester City in the Premier League on Sunday. An own goal from Johnny Evans and headers from Diogo Jota and Roberto Firmino, continuing his streak of scoring in his first 4 league games at Anfield, were enough to give Jurgen Klopp's side a victory. The result moves defending champions Liverpool level on 20 points with leaders Tottenham Hotspur, while Leicester is 4th. KTM Tech 3 rider Miguel Oliveira dominated his first home MotoGP race from start to finish to win the season-ending Portuguese Grand Prix on Sunday. The Portuguese started from pole for the first time in his career. He finished in 41 minutes, 48.163 seconds ahead of Jack Miller. So those were some sports updates. Back to you, Shubhendu.
Thank you, Suchitra, for joining us with those updates. And let's now find out what's in store in Life Prime today. Now, Mexico's famed mariachi musicians serenaded their patron saint on Sunday, but the songs and celebrations were a bit more muted this year due to the COVID pandemic. Hundreds of mariachis normally fed San Cecilia, the patron saint of musicians, with a parade through Mexico City streets to massive Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe. This year, though, musicians clad in their traditional garb of crop jackets, white sombreros, had to make do with a rather smaller ceremony. What a treat, Mexican music. Moving on, Paris's most beautiful avenue, as it's called, Champs-Élysées, turned bright red for the Christmas season on Sunday as the country remains under lockdown to slow the spread of the coronavirus. The event was held with only a handful of people with second lockdown this year. The avenue, usually busy before Christmas, is desperately empty. And fast food slowed to a snail's pace in Aurora, Colorado, as fans of California-based burger chain In-N-Out waited in their cars for upward of 12 hours. It was the opening of the first In-N-Out in the state. Aurora Police Department deployed officers to manage the traffic, but also tweeted that the restaurant would likely close before many would even be able to make an order at the drive-thru window. Drone video that you can also see taken at this scene showed queues of cars stretching down nearby roadways, waiting to access the burger joint's parking lot. Wonder how many of those burger lovers got lucky. And education has been a medium for empowering youth in India. Breaking the barriers of illiteracy, poverty, education is a step towards employment and future prosperity. Corona pandemic forced schools across the world to impart online education. Due to limited access to internet, poor families have been struggling to be in the system of online education. The poorest and the most disadvantaged children face the risk of not being able to continue their studies. Keeping all these points in mind, the municipality school of Nandudarbar, a city in Maharashtra, has been setting an example for the education system in the rest of the country. Take a look.
When all schools were closed amid the spread of COVID-19, the principal of Municipality Girls' School in Nandurbar, Maharashtra, along with the teachers Ravindra and Priyanka Patil, introduced a unique concept. This new style of imparting education is sort of a school on wheels for the students. Those who are not able to manage their educational expenses can receive education through this medium.
कोरोना जैसे वैश्विक महामारी के चलते हुए सारे देश भर में सभी विद्यालय बंद है। इस कारणवश हमने शिक्षारत नामक चलता फिरता डिजिटल स्कूल का निर्माण किया है, जो कि हमने दीपक मोता नामक शिक्षक से प्रेरित हुए हैं। हमने हमारी कार में एलईडी टीवी स्थापित किए हैं तथा उसके साथ इन्वर्टर, माइक, स्पीकर बैठाकर मोबाइल के जरिए वाईफाई द्वारा हम हमारे बच्चों को चौराहों पर जाकर सामुदायिक शिक्षा के माध्यम से शासन निर्देश अनुसार सामाजिक अंतर का पालन करते हुए बच्चों को समूह शिक्षा माध्यम से हम पढ़ा रहे हैं।
Teachers of this municipality school have turned their cars into an education chariot. LED Android TV, inverter and mic speakers are all part of this school. This chariot goes to villages and helps the students to get online and offline education. Even during the lockdown, the teachers continued to educate children of class 1st to 4th standard while maintaining social distancing and wearing the mask. As per the schedule, they teach students in open area from morning 10 o'clock to 1 p.m.
हमारे स्कूल में से बहुत कम छात्राएं ऐसी है जिनके घर में टीवी या मोबाइल की सुविधा उपलब्ध है और ऑनलाइन लर्निंग के जरिए पढ़ाई हम सभी बच्चों के पास पहुंच नहीं पा रहे थे। हमारा प्रकाशा गांव बहुत बड़ा होने के कारण हम सभी बच्चों के घर पे जाकर पढ़ाई करने में हमें बहुत मुश्किलें आ रही थी। इसलिए हमने शिक्षा रथ नामक चलती फिरती डिजिटल स्कूल का निर्माण किया।
Apart from this, the teachers are giving equal importance to physical education along with yoga training at their own expenses. Teachers have also distributed books and spread awareness about COVID-appropriate behavior.
कोरोना के कारण हमारे स्कूल बंद है, इसी कारण हमारे सरों ने अपनी गाड़ी में टीवी लगाकर हमें पढ़ाते हैं और हमें बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि हमारे सर हमारे लिए इतनी मेहनत कर रहे हैं और हमें पढ़ाई में रुचि भी आ रही है।
कोरोना महामारी बीमारी से हमारे स्कूल बंद है। हमारे घर में टीवी, मोबाइल नहीं होने से हम ऑनलाइन पढ़ाई कर नहीं सकते। हमारे मास्टर जी ने गली में आकर ऑनलाइन पढ़ाई टीवी में लगाकर हमें पढ़ाया, हमें बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है।
These efforts of providing quality education to students in rural areas by teachers are worth appreciating. If the entire rural education system implements this concept, it will be a milestone development story in the country. With inputs from Jagdish Jaiswal with Tabassum Malik, Nandurbar, DD India.
And we're all working to live in the new normal of the pandemic, and our best safety against the pandemic is a simple mask. So remember to wear a mask and keep safe, protect your loved ones. Namaskar.